Every day at the end of the day, I tell my children to get home safely. It's not a statement. It's not a throwaway. It's a request, please. They may not. And the arrogance that any person who has the opportunity to be in their presence has to think that they can take a period off. They can take a lesson off. You don't know if the thing that you take the time to offer them is the moment that changes their life.
That was the voice of Dr. Steve Perry. This is going to be an episode a little different than many other episodes. You're going to hear my voice probably more than Dr. Perry's, but it's not by design, but we allow it to happen. So if you're an educator, if you're an administrator, if you're a person who cares about the well-being of our youth, and definitely as we know our young men are struggling more than ever, you are going to hear in this conversation what it's like to be in a mentoring connection with someone. Sometimes those questions are not planned. Sometimes they're a curiosity that leads down a path of helping people to unearth, become alive into what they actually want. Oh, I heard you say that this is what your goals are. Why are you not starting? Oh, I heard that you say this is what you want to do. Why haven't you began? What's in the way? And these are not only questions. What I heard Dr. Perry saying to me was almost like seeing myself in a mirror because I was like, why is he asking me these questions? But what I'm clear about that you as an educator, you as a person who cares about education, we have to make sure our educators are getting tools to keep opening up their hearts and minds into why they're in this work. Because this is not easy work. And so you get opportunity to go deeper into not only hearing some of me reflect in ways that I wasn't prepared to reflect on, but that I'm clear that I was thankful for in that moment. I hope in this conversation that you will not only hear this conversation of me reflecting, but it will deepen your ability to say, oh, what if I ask these questions to myself? What if I go deeper? What if I talk to people around me who I care about and ask them questions out of curiosity? That's part of the journey. Happy New Year, folks. Hello. Welcome to 2026. Welcome to our first episode of the year. And we are really excited about not only this episode, but about where we're going in 2026 and the conversations that are not only lined up, but also what we envision you being able to be a part of in this year. As we have thought about what are the ways that we can add more value to folks who care about male educators, who care about men in our masks, we know that there are so many more people that we need to talk to. And sometimes there are people who are hard to get to, but we're always talking to people right here in our own community. This conversation is one of the interesting one. As you know, I've talked in the last couple of episodes around the end of the year, kind of recapping, but also I talked about my own journey of health and well-being. As an educator for more than 20 plus years, I've known that I've put so much effort into my work, into my schools, into my students, into this organization, which also sometimes was not focusing on myself. And we were super excited about this conversation with Dr. Steve Perry because we had him on during the Taking Off the Mask podcast, the original show, and we brought him back as an educator. And really, I was really excited to talk about what he's learning and what he's seeing, and not only seeing today in education, but what are the things that he's seeing with young men in education. And the conversation went a little bit different than we planned. Like, I mean, remember, these are not interviews. I don't have like a list of questions. I have thoughts and I have, ideas about what I want to talk to the person about or things that we've discussed that they want to talk about. And we didn't get to any of those things in this conversation. This was almost Dr. Perry coming in as a guest host and actually inviting me to get reflective. Now, he didn't have a list of questions. We started at the end of the mask. And so, when we have these conversations, we start off with the mask. What do you let the world see? What are the things you don't let the world see? And what we had really decided was that, we weren't going to worry about drawing a mask. We were just going to have a conversation. And I, always have the paper with me so I can, get really present before the show. And so I was like, well, where are we going to go in this conversation? And when we got started, I shared some things on the back. Now, they're not written on my piece of paper here. My mask is here, but the back, I think I just started talking about what I was really present with right now. At the end of 2025, moving into 2026, some of the things that I'm envisioning, I'm working on. I was really clear that there were some pieces that I really wanted to spend a lot more time on in 2026. And one of the questions that Dr. Perry said right away was, are you sure you're going to be here in 2026? And that question was not only powerful, but it hit me in a couple of ways. I don't know if I've talked on this show about it, but I definitely have talked about it in the past. In 2020, I lost my grandmother. In December, she went into the hospital, and then she went into hospice. And early in January, she passed. And when he said, like, how do you know you're going to make it to 2026? It was just a recognition of my own soul of like, yeah, I don't, I don't know. Because I've seen life taken at the blink of an eye. I've seen people who were here one day, not here the next. And I felt the feeling of like wishing I had more time with them and wishing I had said more to them. Doing my best to let the people in my life who I love and care about know that I love and care about them. It was a moment where, as I shared at the back of my mask, Dr. Perry just said, when he asked that question, because I was focusing on 2026 and the plan, the goal, the resolutions, it brought me right back to right now. Like, what is promised more than just right now, this breath? And so as I feel the emotion coming up, and in this moment trying to push it back down so I can do this intro with you and be really clear about what happened in this conversation, I also know that I've had to get really clear about being okay with the fact that I am a man in this world who feels. And what I see happening in our world where people are doing harmful things to others, to each other, to themselves, my heart breaks for those things, for those people. And when Dr. Perry asked me about not waiting till 2026, even though it's only 2 weeks away, how about you start right now? How about you do one of the things that you've been holding off right now? And I was like, at the end of that message, I was like, I'm going to do it today. And then I got into the cycle of my mind and I started scrolling through, well, which one should I release? Which video should I put out there? I don't know which one. And then, like all that deer in the headlights was like, let me just freeze. Let me just hold off on this. So even right now, as I record this, I realize that, I need to do that post today. Because today is always today and tomorrow is always tomorrow. So if you wait till tomorrow, it's never going to come. And so how do we get really present? And one of the things he asked me about when I was talking about these videos in my phone, the hundreds of videos in my phone that have never seen the light of day, he was like, why? Who are you afraid of? The first question he asked was, I want you to hear this conversation because he first was like, who do you care about? Ooh. And who are you worried about? Oh, the people that you're worried about are not the people you care about. And I wonder how often we spend energy and time holding back our brilliance, holding back our gifts, holding back our gold because we're fighting against the unknown, unnamed people out there in this social atmosphere that I didn't grow up with. I didn't grow up with worrying about what some A2P21 on my post is going to say about me because it was only people that I had to worry about with the probably people here in my environment right here in the Bay Area, Oakland, right here. And wow, how much that had to get really present for me of how this social media atmosphere, platforms cause us not to live out our fullest life, call us to be worried. And I'm an adult who has fully executed frontal lobes, sometimes still operating in behaviors like I didn't. Operating out of fear of what? I don't know. Of who? I don't know. But operating out of it's just the same. So I'm really excited for you to hear this conversation. I'm really excited for not only what you're going to take away, but who you could share this with. And maybe the questions that you hear in this episode, you jot them down for yourself. Maybe you ask yourself those questions. Who do you care about? And what's holding you back from doing the thing that you want to do in the world? Who are you afraid of? What are you worried about? And I think that those opportunities to deeply self-reflect is why we created this Million Mask movement. to deepen conversations. I wanted to get back to the interview. My brain was like, get back to the interview. You're the one interviewing. It's your show, Ashanti Branch. What are you doing? And part of me was like, when do I ever get this chance? When do I ever get the chance to be asked hard questions so that I can reflect and just kind of get clear about what I'm thinking? Those are so valuable. It's why I think so many men could benefit from being in a men's circle, which I've been in since 2010. So many men can benefit from doing a men's weekend, which I've done several of them from many different organizations. I want young men to do the work earlier. They don't have to wait till they're 35 and 40 and midlife crisis and realize, oh, I got to get well or healthy or mindfully clear. We have people out in the world right now. Now, this is where I'm going to get into some really thoughtful context right now. Well, thoughtful to me. So maybe not be thoughtful to you. I'm just naming it for my own self. There are people out in the world who are telling messages that are looking to create more division. We can see it in many areas of our world, political, sports, like all the ways of the shows that get a lot of ratings because there are people arguing back and forth, and like those are important things for our world, for debate, a good, healthy debate. But what we've seen and what we continue to see over and over again is a behavior that is telling one group of people, you are being looked upon downly. You are not being looked upon highly. You are not being favored. And so we cut off the idea of what it means for having more diversity, more equity, more inclusion. We say, well, we don't need any of that because it's not fair. And we don't talk about the historical unfairness that has happened to many people because we want to say, well, don't worry about back then. Just worry about today. As if the behaviors of today weren't rooted in behaviors of yesterday. Kids don't grow up being racist on their own. They don't grow up believing that somebody, because if they look like that, they are less than me or not as good as me or not as talented as me, and I must be the most talented. And if they get something I don't get, is because they got an unfair advantage. That is what is being taught to people. And so this year, 2026, I am clear that these are not thoughts that I just came up with yesterday. These are thoughts I've been thinking and in my mind saying and keeping them to myself. Now, these conversations about school, as we know, are also rooted in what are we seeing that is not equitable about our schools. What is happening in our schools, what is happening in the behaviors, what I'm seeing here not only in Oakland, California, but as I travel around the country, of how we are not taking what young people are saying to us serious. They want to be seen. They want to be heard. They want to be understood. And sometimes the adults are not listening. So we got work to do. You will hear me ask Dr. Perry some questions back, just like, how does he support the teachers at his school? Listen, we need to have healthy conversation with educators. And if you're an educator, if you are an advocate, if you are a superintendent level educator in a school, it is so important that you have quality professional development for your teachers because they need it, because our kids need it. It is hard to show up for our students fully there, present, and waiting to support their own development if we haven't done our own work. Otherwise, we come in as tyrants on the outside as if we're here to fix them. And so we have work to do. And this new year, I'm really excited about what we're going to do. Some of our conversations, I imagine, will get longer. Who knows? I feel like sometimes our conversations with educators are rushed because we're trying to run to the next thing. I'm trying to run to the next thing. I don't want to hold them any longer. And I feel like sometimes we miss on the depth of the conversation because we're trying to just go too fast. But all I can tell you right now is thank you for being a part of this community. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing these episodes. And this episode, as you will hear, it's a reflective of an educator. It's a reflective of someone who is trying to make our schools more whole and more healthy for all students. And as we move in the Million Mask movement this next year, I invite you to be a part of this journey with us. If you have not made your mask yet, you can do that at millionmask.org anonymously. And I invite that as you make your mask, you give that link to someone and you invite them to make a mask. And maybe you'll have a conversation about it. Maybe you, in the conversation with somebody you trust, that you know, that you like, that you have a conversation about what it means to have to put on this mask all the time. So in this work, we are not telling you that you shouldn't have masks. I got mine too. What we are saying is, do you have a place, at least one person that you can go and take it off with? That's what we're hoping for you. We thank you for being a part of this. Please share this episode with someone that you care about, that you like. Leave a comment, a review, and we look forward to seeing you soon as we move into 2026 in the growth of this movement and the Million Mask Movement and the Ever Forward Club. As a male educator at your school site, it can get lonely. Only 23% of K-12 educators in America are male. And just think about what this gender gap means for your male students. They experience disproportionate levels of discipline. This is a show for male educators who want to feel more understood by their community and want to create emotionally safe classrooms and schools for the next generation of male students. Welcome to Unmasking with Male Educators. Dr. Steve Perry, welcome back to Unmasking Male Educators.
Glad to be home. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, well, our last show was taking off the mask, and this show is pretty similar, except we're focusing on male educators, and so thank you for being back with us. Tell them, for those who've never met you, for those who didn't hear our first episode together, but just let folks know what you want them to know about you as we jump into talking about not only ourselves in these masks, but also education and how we support it.
While it is not illegal to teach Black children to read, write, and compute anymore, it remains wildly unpopular. While it is not against the law to hire Black men to teach, it is wildly unpopular. I am someone who continues to fight the fight that began long before I was even thought of. And that's the fight to create an opportunity for people who are Black and Latin to have the opportunity to explore the beauty within them through education. And for Black people in particular, to be able to operate schools in these here United States. My fight continues. We have schools in Connecticut and New York. And I say that proudly because from Fred Douglass to Dr. King to Malcolm and all parts in between, there are these people that we refer to as progressives who have always been a thorn in the side of the Black community. They have always found a way to differentiate themselves from the aggressive and overt racists, because they don't do the aggressive and overt things. But they do things like malign those of us who seek to control our own destiny through education. When we open charter schools, when we start programs to educate Black men to become educators, and on. Because they, overwhelmingly white and female, recognize that it's not the Department of Education, it's the Department of Employment. So I continue to fight that I've been fighting, that has been fought long before I got in this game. And hopefully we'll continue long after I'm gone.
Thank you for that introduction. I think a powerful context of education requires us to know that even everyone who says they care about kids, the behaviors don't demonstrate that, and I think we can point to lots of examples, just even the most recent, just right now where we're dealing with is how uneducated our system is and how lacking the supports are for young people. As we jump into this kind of talk about education, maybe you and I can go kind of just ground ourselves into this idea of, as we first talk about these young men and what we're seeing with those in our schools, which more people are researching young men than ever before. They're researching this generation of young people, but they're researching young men more than ever. And I told a group of young men the other day, I said, you're the most researched entity of being of humans ever. How many articles are coming out every week about you, and some of you are staying silent, and they're not asking you. They're making up stories, they're researching stuff, but they're not talking to you. So we need you to be out here speaking for yourself, right? And I think trying to give them I don't need to give them permission, but trying to say, hey, speak up. Stop being a consumer out here in this social media world. Be a creator. Tell what you believe about what's going on. Because there's a lot of people telling what you are saying or what they think you're saying or what the data is saying you're saying, devoid of your words, because most of you are just using your thumbs to consume, your thumbs and your eyes and your brain, right? And in that lack of creation. So maybe just for mask's sake, you and I, like maybe you remember the mask is like what we are letting the world see, like what's happening on the outside and what things we're not letting the world see, right? As educators, as you as a leader, I don't remember the words I used 3 years ago, but I know that they're probably in lots of similar ways, but also maybe new ways of things that I'm talking about and not talking about. Do you want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
Go ahead.
Right now in this educator role is I'm letting people see is that I'm committed, dedicated, caring, passionate about this work of education. And then the things that I could probably make a longer list of things that I'm showing, but those are 3 of them. And then the things that I'm not talking about as much that are more tricky is I think sometimes I'm afraid to speak out against this regime that I feel is harming kids. And I'm not famous. I'm just a teacher here, educator here trying to do good work. But what I've seen happen on these big stages is just a demonizing of people who are trying to do good. And I think the ability to feel, what I'm not talking about is like, I want to speak out against a lot of this madness. I don't want to be afraid. I don't want to have fear of speaking out. But I'm a small nonprofit and we need grants and I don't want to make people mad, right? And so it's like this dance between trying to be courageous and bold and also living at the mercy of sometimes a nonprofit industrial complex that makes that hard to do when you have a bold and opinion about something. So that's what's really present right now as an educator, things I'm talking about and things I'm not talking about as much.
What do you think is the reason that you don't spend more time talking about what you believe is the regime's efforts against people you care about?
Yeah, I think it's fear. I know it's fear. I've made many videos there on my phone. I've said it. I've vented about it. And then when I get ready to post it, I'm just like, yeah, but okay, we have only a couple of grants, right? I'm like, okay, who is this? Is this going to make somebody? I'm always filtering it through all of the things that I have to do as a leader of an organization who's not just thinking about how Ashanti thinks, who has to think about the people I have to employ and the people I have to pay. Like I think it's just fear. I think the best word for it is fear. I think that's what definitely holds it back. That's why I have videos that I've like made and didn't, and don't share, and fear of what it means to be a leader, right? What does it mean? And I think I'm in awe of people who speak out seemingly unabashedly or unafraid. And I speak out about some things, but I think, our Department of Education, I think is right now, and it has been for seasons, harmful, right? And so this idea of like, how do you do that in a way that doesn't create more, I don't want to say more problems. I think there's a lot of layers of like, my role is a person who is a speaker who also is trying to do work in many places and trying to dance the line of like, yeah, I think I think there's lots of areas. I think the biggest word probably was fear, right? Fear from many levels.
How long do you think you can maintain that?
Well, I made a commitment in 2026 or this next month is that this next season of these conversations are going to be more directed, like more like that. That's what I'm pushing through that as we speak. Ironically, you're asking me that question is like, it's exhausting. And because I know about what it means to be a man who holds emotion in. I talk about it on my men's team, Tuesday nights I get together with them and I talk about things that are passionate, but A lot of it is being just held in. I'm just holding it in. It's not healthy to hold in all of that. Now I'm holding it in. Like I said, if I make a video on my phone, I get some of it out emotionally, but it's still kind of just stirring with me because I'm just keeping it to myself, right? Like I think I've been given a gift to see certain things. I'm not trying to sound esoteric or mysterious. It's like I'm a connector. When I watch these adults in Congress being bullied as adults, and I was bullied as a teenager, but when I watch these adults being bullied, it actually, I feel that. Like, I'm like, these people are afraid. Now, I know what the fear is. I'm on a different level. I'm not a senator or congressperson, so I'm a nonprofit leader, right? So I think the fear of like, oh, what's going to happen if I do this? Somebody's going to call me names, and then people are going to start harassing me and all the things. When I watch that happening in real time, I know what it feels like because I was a 7th grader who that was happening to every day. Didn't tell anybody, didn't say anything, just felt the fear every day going to school. And I can't imagine that doing that at work for your career, right? Now your livelihood is at stake, your family, So I think all those things, I think a lot about it. So I think, how long can I handle that? How long can I mean, it's already breaking. And I think finally I've been making decisions. I've been making some commitments to my own health and to my mental health around that. Like, you got all this stuff, like you've been down, something's been downloaded to you to like say something and you're holding it back, right? I think it can't last much longer. So I made a commitment in January to be more bold around that. But it's also still scary though.
Someone told you were going to be alive in January?
Oh, great point. Yeah, no one, no. I think no. No. Beautiful. Yo, man. Yeah, that's very true. So they will if I'm not here, they die with this phone, right? They die in this phone in a device that words never got out, right? I think they said the most wealthy place is the cemetery, right? All the ideas and dreams that just went to bed with people that never got to see the light of day because they waited. Yeah, very powerful. Thank you.
How do you know that if you say those things, you won't gain the very things you think you're going to lose?
Yeah, I think about that too. I think it's the power of fear, right? When the fear is real and present and you feel it, right? Like if I didn't, like there's certain things, certain topics that if you mention them to me, I'll be like, I don't really it's not my interest level I'm not going to get worked up about that. But education is not one of those. Education, wealth, the well-being and safety of our young people. Oakland, here in Oakland, like Oakland is very political, but Oakland also it's chaotic, right? We just had a shooting at one of our high schools. It's starting to get a little hotter here. And so I went to the school board meeting. They got canceled. And then I was like, okay, I'll be at the next one. And I went to the next one and I said, I have now decided that I'm no longer going to stay silent. I started the process. I was saying I'm waiting until January, but I've already kind of started the process. This is the phase where I get to speak up more. Yeah, I'm doing it. I'm doing my best to do it. I definitely can't claim any success from it, but I'm doing it,
So in the meantime, as you maintain the mask and hunt on the gift that you've been giving, what are you expecting to happen to all those things that you care about?
They either stay where they are in the brokenness that they are, or hope that brilliant mind will come and do something about it.
You think that you were given someone else's gift and you're holding it for someone other than you?
No, I think I've allowed fear to lead too long. I've accepted that. I've honored that in my own writing, my journal. Like, what are you afraid of? Like, what are you afraid of? I think as a mentor, I have a gift of helping young men, and most of my work is to get beyond that stuff that blocks them. Now, oftentimes, the questions you're asking me, and I don't ask myself often enough to break through them. I see it, I hear it. I'm like, what am I waiting for? There's a song where I think Matthew West is like, do something. He's like, God, why are these murders and deaths, and why is all this craziness happening in the world? Are you gonna do something about this? And the song was like, he's like, I created you. Like when you talking about who am I going to send? Like you see the problem, you know the problem, you feel the problem. Who else better is in the song, right? In the concept of a song, but it's like, oh yeah, like I'm thinking somebody else is gonna come and fix these things eventually, and I'm kind of like I've been sitting as a waiter, waiting for, waiting maybe even for the invitation to like, hey, we want you to help solve this problem, right? And I think that's been something that I've finally accepted.
What's the evidence that you've accepted it? What has changed?
Well, I think the first step was going to that school board meeting, and getting up and taking my 2 minutes. Well, they cut it down to one, but my allotted spot, right? And I realized that no decisions get made there. So me going there was more for just this public declaration, but also putting putting a putting an announcement that I have now just yeah, it was a public announcement, right? It's almost like you declare your candidacy for some office. I'm not running for no office, but I am declaring to the school board members that another pair of eyes is now paying attention, right? And I think that was the first step. That I don't know why I feels nervous when I go there. I speak on stages with lots of people, more than 8-10 people on a stage, but I did it, and so that was the first step. And I think the second step is like the fact that I've thought through this way more than I ever have before. Like, why am I would normally just not talk about it. I would not talk about that there's stuff I'm not talking about, right? It just doesn't come up. But I think that it's coming more to an awareness and into action oriented,
If a kid came to you today and told you that he had a phone full of songs that he'd not released for fear.
Should I finish that question? I've been telling them there's Spotify, there's YouTube, there's Instagram, there's all these free opportunities to get your work out there. Let's do something. How can I help you put this into action? That's what I would say.
The best advice that we get is the best advice that we give.
Which is often in the moments of like that work when you hear yourself saying something that you're like, oh, I don't want to be a hypocrite. I don't think I am. I don't want to behave like one. Like, oh, why are you not doing this then? Oh, yeah. That's part right there, right? You're like, oh, I'm gonna be a hypocrite if I don't like take these words and use them myself.
How can you convince someone to jump in cold water from the edge? It's easier to tell someone to come in the water, right?
Yeah. This conversation that's happening right now, me sharing my mask with you, and for anyone who's listening to this, like this wasn't planned. Like technically, Dr. Perry's not here to interview me, right? So what's happening right now is what I believe more not only men need, definitely our young men need it. We see that all the time. Like just somebody to help reflect back what you're saying so that you can actually clarify, is that actually what you're saying? And was that what you mean by what you're saying? And to inspect kind of what you're saying, not as a judgment, but as a place of like, well, I hear you want to do these things. What's in the way? What's blocking you? Right. I'm appreciating this, and I'm taking it in, right, in a big way. And I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to be doing a job here. I'm supposed to be doing a job here. Am I avoiding the job I'm supposed to be doing? Right. And so I'm playing all those simultaneously in this piece, but which is why these conversations are designed as conversations, not as a list of let me drill you with a bunch of questions. It's more like, how can we as men in education come together and have heartfelt conversations to inspect our own stuff,
What's the worst thing that could happen to you if you live in your truth?
I mean, yeah, it just I mean, if anything happens, it shifts who is engaging with your stuff. The people who, oh, this was the mild tempered, gentle person who they can, and then the people who actually need to hear from the passion of your heart helps you to go deeper, right? I mean, I don't know. I think the idea of losing is just relative to a vision, right? Of like, oh, I'm creating this movement, right? And I think that sometimes those are the things I measure up against of like, oh, is it working, right? Is the movement working? Is in a big enough platform to be seen by the right people, which I tell myself, right?
Who matters to you?
I mean, my family, my nephews. I'm the best uncle. My niece. Yeah, I think, and then the youth who the young men who I mentored when I was a first year teacher in 2004, who are now in their 30s, who call and check in from time to time, or sometimes life hits them and they reach out and say, "Hey, can we have a coffee? Can we talk?" I mean, those relationships mean a lot to me.
Which one of those would you lose if you were to speak in your own voice?
None. I mean, none that I can imagine. I mean, I think they all get it. I think I probably tell them I talk to them more about what I care about than maybe others.
And so the more you share with yourself of them, does that pull them closer to you?
Yeah. Yeah.
So the people who matter most to you support your most authentic self.
Yeah.
Yet the fear of the people who are unnamed and who don't mean that much to you are the ones who you aspire to impress.
Yeah, subconscious. Yeah, that subconsciously probably has been more driving.
So then, honestly, who matters more to you? To your niece and nephew and the young people who you used to teach, do they mean the most to you, or do these other people mean more to you than even those?
Yeah, it's a very powerful reframe.
Which one of those groups is dictating your behavior more?
Yeah. the unknown number in the followers count on some platform, right? Which is what I mostly, which is actually pretty interesting. It's actually pretty scary that's how I've been operating. Scary in the sense that I didn't realize that. Now that I say it out, now I hear the question being asked to me, and I've answered the question. It's like, oh, that is where I've been putting most of my attention.
Name the people you admire. You don't have to know them, but people you admire.
I mean, man, that's a great question. I admire my Uncle Gene, who's like a nonstop entrepreneur. I admire Barack Obama for his eloquence and navigating difficulty and on this platform of our political systems. I admire Sean Dove, who is a mentor, who's helped me navigate through this nonprofit wildness, madness, often these challenges. I admire Chris Emden, who's like I'm naming educators. I'm naming just people in my mind that I'm coming up right now. And I'm going to leave out some people. So I can't, the list can be long, right? But I'm just, he's a, scientist, mathematician, working in education. Man, there's so many. I admire my godson in Jalisco, Mexico, is pushed through his fear of like talking to people to like make masks with his peers, right? Believing in him. Like I admire that courage because I know what it's like to be shy and afraid to talk to people. Yeah, I admire my sister who's raising my two nephews. My brother who's a chef and navigating the world of culinary work with all the work out there. Yeah, I mean, those are people I'll stop there because I can probably go on forever, right?
I have to stop. It sounds like you admire people who are pushing beyond their comfort. who are living beyond their circumstances.
And willing to go for it, right? Willing to go for it. If your talent can take you to 10, why stay at 6, right? I mean,
a catchy phrase, harder to live.
Very. Yeah. Well, I feel that sometimes. I feel that next level of like, okay, what does it mean to be for 21 years to be leading this organization and finally want to believe that I should be able to get on a stage and command a salary or a fee that comes to me, right? Because for 21 years, everything has gone to the organization. And sometimes it feels like being in my head. I think intellectually, one side is the intellectual side and the feeling side. Like, I shouldn't feel bad about it. But in my brain, sometimes it's like, well, you don't have time to be worrying about your stuff because you need to be helping this organization grow and sustain and things like that. So I think that part of also like our own selves of how do we navigate? How do I think that I matter enough to put hours of my day on me and focus on me and Ashanti? Right?
You mentioned earlier that the 7th grade version of you was bullied. The long-term effects are harder to tell in the aesthetic of an older Black man by their aesthetic, but easy to tell in their actions or inactions. The second guessing could be seen as the traumatic impact of someone making fun of things that you simply couldn't change even if you wanted to. Height, weight, color, eye color, walk, talk, smell, laugh, intelligence, speed, slow, whatever the thing, something you just literally couldn't do anything about even if you wanted to.
Yeah.
So when someone makes you second guess who you are, you can carry that deep into adulthood. Yeah. And to the casual observer, they see the success. But to someone who takes a second to ask you questions, they find out you have a phone full of ideas and the promise of living forever for them to come out. I've had the opportunity. One time you mentioned President Obama. One time he mentioned, you've heard it, where he talked about how he was in rooms with people, world leaders, and many of them are not that impressive.
Yeah,
he just says a thing. Not really. I mean, it's like nothing super dope about him.
Yeah.
A lot of people who you talk about who are on stages, they really ain't that impressive. Because a real thing.
Yeah.
What they talk about, what they advise people on, they can't do themselves.
And
they actually cannot do it. You can sell a book about it, but they can't do it. You know that because if you ask them what they did today, it's not going to be what they wrote about.
Yeah.
Motivational speakers who still have who struggle to get a 6-pack. If you can motivate so easily, what's going on? You think you're setting expectations for yourself? You subconsciously make these internal bullies bigger than they really are?
Yeah, I think so. I think when I make them bigger, if I think about making them bigger, it's kind of like the people who I'm worried are going to be upset for me saying something political or about this Department of Education, right? In my mind, it's a narrative. So yeah, I'm definitely giving them a lot of power, giving them a lot of like overarching power that I think, which is why I would not go to the school board. I don't have to deal with this drama. I want to deal with this. I want to deal with the drama of it, right? Like, and maybe it's just like, yeah, definitely give them a lot of power. I think that's the best way to describe it. And I think taking back some of that is an opportunity to say, okay, if we're going to do something, January's not promised. I 100% believe that. I've dealing with some grief over the last several years of just like, oh, I didn't expect this person not to be here at this time. And navigating that, I hold grief pretty well. I resist processing grief oftentimes just because of the emotional heaviness of it sometimes. But this idea of this bully, I think that part sticks out, and it comes up from time to time.
So you have these gifts that are locked in your life's proverbial phone by you and the unnamed unknown.
Yeah, I would say. I've allowed that to happen. Yeah.
Tense is important. Allowed is past tense.
Yes. Because if you ask me, yes. Okay. Well, I believe I'm moving past it, but I'm still in it, right? So I think that gap between, right, the from where I am and where I want to be. I'm trying to like be in the gap. I want to be at the place where it's like I'm focusing on the people who I care about the most, and how do I make the world better for them. So I'm gonna ignore the people who could care less, who don't care, who would think that I'm creating harm, because that's nowhere near what this purpose is about, right? So I'm gonna ignore the noise, and I think with these, the noise gets louder and it gets magnified by people, like you said, the unknown, unnamed, right? The avatars of the people who are talking smack, right, out in this world, right, which is definitely not where I live here in Oakland, right? And maybe some of them are in Oakland. Who cares? But I would think that not to spend time and energy giving them power over the gift.
That's what you aspire to.
That's what I'm aspiring to. Yeah.
And today
I'm closer than I was, before. But I think I don't know if it's a turn off and on, or if it's a work in progress. I feel I'm more of a work in progress, but I'm thinking about questions that I've not asked myself or been asked in a way where I'm like, oh, okay, this is part of the work. This is part of the next phase. The next phase of your work, Ashanti, is all those videos that you made caring about this thing that you held on to. Either you need to remake them or you need to release them, meaning release them out into the world.
So phases are pretty linear, right?
Mm-hmm.
Phases require a promise that is hard to achieve.
Oh, okay. In the context of like, what does that mean in the phase, or what are you going to do about it?
Child comes up to you with a phone full of songs. Mm-hmm. And his answer is, I'm in a phase. I got a plan.
I want to say, what's the plan? Tell me the plan.
Then he tells you the plan. In January.
Why not now? Why not today? Why not tomorrow?
Tomorrow, because there's a safety in that. It allows you a cushion for your own self.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not your honest answer to the child who comes to you excited with all these ideas in his phone, and he just escaped a bully. Yeah. And he wants to tell his story, and he wants other kids to hear it. He doesn't want them to have to feel afraid. Your answer isn't going to be tomorrow. I mean, let's be honest, right? It's not going to be your answer.
Yeah.
There's no value add in do it tomorrow.
Yeah. My phrase to them when they say tomorrow, I'm like, tomorrow never comes. Tomorrow's today, and then that's going to be tomorrow then, right? So I hear it. I hear the answer. And I'm like, oh, well, let's just do something now, like right now. Let's do something right now.
To do it. I'm just asking you. To me, it is important that the most important voice you will ever hear is the one that only you will hear.
And therefore, all those thoughts, ideas, dreams just get stored away in a notebook and a note file and a one day maybe list, someday maybe, and they just pile up. So there's a gratitude here in this context, but I want to ask, how do you, and what you just done right here in this conversation, I don't know if I didn't plan this to be this conversation, but when you have educators who you're serving, who you're supporting, right, as the leader, like as you're supporting those educators to do better by way of children, right? Like, are these the kind of conversations you have with educators?
Yes. Children live in now. Every day at the end of the day, I tell my children to get home safely. It's not a statement. It's not a throwaway. It's a request, please. They may not. And the arrogance that any person who has the opportunity to be in their presence has to think that they can take a period off. They can take a lesson off. You don't know if the thing that you take the time to offer them is the moment that changes their life, man. If the creators put something on your heart and you're keeping it, with all due respect, that's mad selfish. What if one of us needed that? What if he entrusted it with you and you just like, nah, I'm gonna keep it. So we all waiting around and people like, yo, who's got this? Who's got it? Like Ashanti had the whole goddamn time. So you got it. We've been looking for it. He ain't give it to me. He ain't give it to him. He ain't give it to him. He ain't give it to him. Gave it to you. So now you sitting there with it. People you ain't never met before. Kids who today in the 7th grade just got their ass handed to them all day today. Again, it's not meant this way, but it ends up being this way. There's a certain arrogance like, yeah, I'll get it to you later. So then the question is, who you really listening to, bro? I will add, don't give a damn about you, dog. The only people you mentioned who you care about are the ones who care about you. So the ones who care about you, you said want to hear it, but you got this make pretend bully who you just keep giving juice to. You in the life's lunchroom just giving him your lunch money. When if you turn around and popped his ass in the mouth, he'd probably stop. He probably would stop. And even if he didn't stop, he'd know that he's going to have to pay the next time he does that. So he got to ask himself, do I feel like rolling around with this dude all day today? I really don't. He can have his lunch money.
I think I just mentioned that I was bullied. Actually, ironically, what you just described is exactly what was happening. That was many, many years ago.
It wasn't many years ago. It's right now. It's still happening.
Yeah. In a different form.
Something that's essential to your sustenance is being withheld, is being taken from you by somebody else. Yeah. If it's worth having, it's worth fighting for.
For real. Okay. Oh man. Dr. Perry. Oh man. Thank you.
Today, release the first video. Tomorrow, the next. Until there are no more. Yeah. My suggestion would be release the one that you love the most or are the most afraid of right now. The cold of the water is not what stops us from jumping in the water. It's the fear of the discomfort of the cold of the water.
Fear of the discomfort, without a doubt.
Most of the things we're afraid of ain't even real. And they never happen. Never. Be the advice that you need to give to the children who need to hear it. Yeah. The best advice you can give is to live the advice you wish to see them live.
That's where we are. That's what we're going to do. What are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? And then you wonder why are these things not working? Why are the things that I'm trying to like? Because you're not working them. You're not. That's why they're not working. Because you're. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. That's all. That's why I can all say is just I want to appreciate you. Thank you for hearing the gifts of your own self and asking the questions, Dr. Perry. Thank you. I'm trying to figure out how am I even closing the conversation. Like it's already happening. But let's say this to respect your time and the next phase. I would like to reach out to you at the beginning of the year.
If we're both here.
Yeah, that's a great point too. And for the sake of folks who hear this conversation, they want to hear where you do work, where would you like them to?
Unlike some of the folks, I don't spend my time on stages. I'm in the schools. I've had the fees. It's not as much fun as it is being in the trenches. So if they really want to see what I do, come to our schools.
All right. I'm looking forward to that as well.
My man, take good care of yourself.
Listen
to that voice.
Thank you. This is a new show. new year, and this is the way that it should be in our lives. So hopefully you took something from this, share this with someone. Dr. Perry, thank you so much.
My pleasure. Be well. Take care, gentlemen.